Broadcasting from the UK and across the world online. You're now watching The Kevin Moore Show. Now on today's show, I'm about to be joined by my guest, James Whittaker. Now James is a best-selling author and co-founder of several companies in health and fitness. Now James is also the co-executive producer of the 27 movie, Think and Grow Rich, The Legacy. He is also the author of the companion book. James Whittaker, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Kevin. Great to be here.
Thank you for coming on at such short notice. I came across you just a few weeks ago, and I was meaning to get you on, and then you agreed to come on, and I was just so grateful. I love this type of subject. I kind of call it the law of attraction type subjects, but it's much more than that. So much to talk about, right? Just explain to us a little bit on, first of all, on how you got into this project and what this project is.
Well, this project is called Think and Grow Rich, The Legacy. So for the very first time, Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich, which is the best-selling self-help book of all time, has sold more than 120 million copies. They're creating a film about it. So being brought to the screen for the very first time, the Napoleon Hill Foundation is on board, and I'm a co-executive producer of the film and author of the brand new book that's coming out with it as well. And what we really wanted to do was try and just update the delivery method and really excite people using the technology and the people we have access to today. Because in the original Think and Grow Rich book, for people who have read it, Napoleon Hill references Andrew Carnegie, Thomas Edison, Henry Ford, and today's generations don't really identify as much with those names. So we've referenced people, Bob Proctor and Grant Cardone and Rob Dyrdek, Barbara Corcoran. We've got a very eclectic mix of people from all over the world in just about every different industry that you can think of. And even in the book as well, where I'm able to go into a bit more detail about people, we reference everyone from Sarah Blakely, the youngest self-made billionaire of all time, to Tom Brady, Elon Musk, the Navy SEALs. It's a very big take on the original Think and Grow Rich, and just something that we're very excited to share with the world.
Wonderful. Okay. Well, look, thanks for just giving us a bit of a platform there of what this is. So the actual movie, Grow Rich: The Legacy, Think and Grow Rich: The Legacy, that's not actually out yet.
It's launched. It's available now at tgrmovie.com. So it's not available on all the major platforms as yet. It will be in the next few weeks. So if people go over to tgrmovie.com, they're able to access a whole heap of bonus content, and there are exclusive behind-the-scenes footage and some extended interviews that the cast members have done. There's the audio book. There's a whole heap of exciting content available exclusively at that website.
Now, I've actually never read Think and Grow Rich. It's definitely got to be on one of my books to read right now. What was so special about that book for yourself?
Well, it really is the godfather, if you will, of the entire self-help movement. So basically every other self-help or personal development expert is taking material from that. It really was the first time that he coined the achievement philosophy, which is Napoleon Hill's 13 Principles of Success. It was written during the First World War, released during the tail end of the Great Depression on the precipice of the Second World War. And the reason that it's so popular and stood the test of time is results. It really has created more millionaires than any other resource in history. It is a truly timeless book, and there are so many people, everyone from Oprah Winfrey to Jim Carrey, and all the people that we've got in the film and the book have really credited Think and Grow Rich as the turning point in their life. So it really has stood the test of time, and we're just so excited to be able to be in a position to share the Think and Grow Rich principles with the world and younger generations.
What did it do for you how old were you when you first read it?
I read it when I was very, very young, so I think maybe 13 or 14 years old, and it really didn't do a great deal for me at that time. And then after that, I grew up listening to a lot of people like Jim Rohn. He was a big one for me, listening to a lot of his recordings. And then when I read it again, maybe in my early 20s, that was when I really started to strike a chord. And then when I revisited it ahead of this film and book project, I've been reading it every day since. And All the people
Wow.
that I've interviewed for this film and this book project say that you can, when you read something, especially in the self-help field, the all you can take to it is your experiences to that point. So the more life experiences that you've got, that is when you can get the most out of it. So someone like Bob Proctor has been reading Think and Grow Rich every day for the last 58 years. It's absolutely amazing. And Sharon Lecter reads it every year. Rob Dyrdek reads it every couple of years. And these people say that you don't see something new in the book, you see something new in yourselves because you've just got a heightened sense of life experience that you can dive into. So, yeah, it's a really interesting resource. And the difference is that most novels and what people want to do with books typically is read them once and either give them away or put them in a drawer or on a shelf, never to be seen again. But with Think and Grow Rich, the people who get the most out of it by far are the ones who really use it as a blueprint, as a almost like a textbook, if you will, as a practical resource that they can revisit time and time again because it will help them at whatever stage of life they're in.
Absolutely. Now for yourself as well, just getting your background in here as well before we move on with Think and Grow Rich, and actually just get a little bit more into Napoleon Hill as well. You were from the financial industry, is that right?
Yeah, I spent 10 years in financial planning back in Australia, and then I moved to America after that. I studied an MBA over here, and then I've actually spent the last 5 years on a bit of an entrepreneurial journey. And then, yeah, most recently being involved with the foundation and the filmmakers on this Think and Grow Rich project.
NBA, that is a
Masters of Business Administration.
Masters of Business. Okay. And so you've had a few other businesses yourself that you were running in the States?
Yeah, I've had some other things. I actually had one of the world's largest CrossFit gyms over in Australia, a business called CrossFitorian, which has been a really great and exciting project. Have an activewear company, a social media brand, all sorts of varied things. It's been a very busy 5 years, but yeah, something that I love doing. I just can't sit still is actually the way that I best describe it.
So right now, because you've got your website, which is
JamesWhitt.com, JamesWhitt.com.
and what do you offer on that website?
What I'm doing I actually recently revised the whole website. It's basically a brand new site now. And what I'll be doing is a lot more speaking engagements over here in the US. I was speaking recently to people in San Diego, and I've got speeches coming up in Iowa, Texas, and again in San Diego in the next 3 weeks. But what I will be doing on that is I'll be putting a lot of not only multimedia that I'll be doing in promotional support of the book and the film, but I will also be starting a blog and just creating a lot more content that I can release to people to not only help them achieve success in their own lives, but also show some of the things that I've learned on this amazing journey from interviewing some of these pretty incredible people.
Yes, absolutely. So your goal is to sort of help people find their purpose, would you say?
Yeah, I just want to help people take ownership of their financial, physical, and mental health because I feel that there is such a strong link between those three areas, whereas people typically want to focus on one of those things. But really, mental health only comes once you've got your financial and your physical health sorted as well.
What was the main pull for you to go to the US then, apart from having the business degree or master's degree?
Yeah, I don't know. I always had the sense when I was young that I was a little bit different. I suppose the black sheep of the family at different times. I've got an older brother and a younger sister, both of who got married at the age of 25 and had stable jobs. And I don't know. I was always a little bit different and just felt this urge to go and try some different things. So moving over to America to study had always been a bit of a dream of mine. And I suppose on the entrepreneurial journey, it's full of dizzying highs and crashing lows. And there are many times when I wish I actually had a stable job and was very, very comfortable just being in the home city where I'm from. But
Right.
having as I'm sure every entrepreneur can attest to, but actually having the opportunity to get out of that environment and really immerse myself in the entrepreneurial culture of Boston, first of all, and then in LA for the last 4 years, I don't know, it really just enabled me to, I guess, fend for myself and get out of my comfort zone and start establishing some very strong personal connections, which have led to everything that I'm very grateful to be involved in today.
So let's just get the backstory here of how the book came around about, and you've given us a copy of the book, and I really do appreciate that as well, which I'm just reading. How did you come up with the idea of doing the book and doing the movie? Where did that come from? What was the thinking process there?
Yeah, well, I met up with the filmmakers. So there was director Scott Servine, and then Sean Donovan, Karina Donovan, and Joel Franco. And they had the Think and Grow Rich, the Legacy film project underway at that stage. And when I had the opportunity to meet with them, we just got along very well, and they understood that I really appreciated just how big and groundbreaking they wanted this film project to be. I just asked if they had a book that they were going to release for it, and then they said they had. They did have plans for it, but they were also so busy with the day-to-day running of a film, it just kept getting bigger and bigger and really snowballing as more and more people heard about it, because it's a Think and Grow Rich movie. Everyone wants to be a part of it. And then I spoke to Sean a few days later, and just he said, we love your energy and we'd love to have you involved in the project. Can you just tell us how you think you'd like to be involved? And I spoke to him again about the book side, and then said that if I was them, what I would do is break down the 13 principles of Think and Grow Rich, give them a brief refresh and introduction in a modern context, and then follow each chapter with 2 stories of modern day contemporary icons, business leaders, or athletes, world-class athletes who have really personified and lived those principles. And he absolutely loved the idea and asked if I could do it. And I said, yeah, I'll do it for you. And so I came on board as author of the book and co-executive producer of the film.
So as co-executive producer, were you the one that was doing the interviews then with some of the business self-help people?
So what we were trying to do is I would do a lot of research on all the people who we had scheduled to come, and we were at the time we were still trying to figure out exactly who we wanted to have in this film and in the book, because all these opportunities just kept coming up. So the way that we realized, actually about halfway through, we sort of regret not doing this at the very start, was I would do a lot of research on these people, because I just needed to make sure I was very dialed in and not wasting their time when I was meeting with these people to get their stories for the book, because essentially I'm writing a mini biography of them. So I would do a lot of research, make sure I could ask them the right questions, and then I would send a bit of an overview of questions that the people interviewing them on set for the film could ask that would get the best answers that we wanted for the film. Some great sound bites, but also some very great in-depth information. And then I would be on set for most of the time while those interviews were taking place, just to make sure that if there was an answer that had been said to me privately that I knew was very, very powerful, and for whatever reason the cast member hadn't said it during that time, I wanted to make sure we could just ask the question, just do another take to make sure that was included in the film.
Obviously, you're quite a giving person. I can kind of feel that. But with the work that you're doing now, is it a case that you just like to help people rather than saying, look, I'll help you if you give me something in return? Do you know what I mean?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I'm very, very big on just giving unconditionally, because I'm a huge believer in karma, and I feel that if the more I give to other people, the more the universe will give to me. But I don't even really think about that second step at all. I just really, I'm not sure. It's just something that has been ingrained to me for a very long time. I guess growing up, my dad always said handsome is as handsome does, and my mum always said you catch more flies with honey than you do with vinegar. So having those quotes running through my brain, I've always felt the urge and the need to always want to do good by other people and just want to help other people. And whether or not I get anything in return, it's of no consequence to me. I just feel like the universe will help me out at some stage. Perhaps not at the time, but maybe down the track. And how many times in life have we had something that feels like a really terrible moment or a big crossroads or something big that's happened in our life that you can turn around a few weeks or a few years later and realize it was actually one of the best things that ever happened to us?
Well, isn't that very true that some of our, our misfortunes are the kind of the best places that we can learn from? And you'd probably say that from the people that you've interviewed. They've all had misfortunes, but they've all just got back up and carried forward.
That is probably the biggest theme of the whole project. Yeah, you're absolutely spot on. So we've got people like Jim Stovall, who at the age of 17 that he would go totally and permanently blind. And he went on to be the author of 30 best-selling books while blind, and the Emmy Award-winning founder of the narrative television network that helps create programming for blind and visually impaired people in 12 countries. Like, this is also a film producer too. we have so many stories like this about people who were able to persist beyond the adversity that they had, and not only persist through it, but they were also able to capture the gift. They thought about what is the gift in this moment. And in many cases in this, from the people in the book, it is immense physical trauma. And in life, when we feel like we've hit rock bottom, we might be out of money or have lost a job or lost a relationship. But if you add on a particularly harrowing medical diagnosis or some type of physical trauma, that is when really you can be at rock bottom. And not a lot of us have gone through that. And I interviewed a lot of people who have gone through that, and they are just the kindest, nicest people, but also tough as nails. They're just able to find the gift in everything, and that enables them to be happy, and what ultimately leads them to sustained success in whatever path they choose.
Absolutely. And when I said about yourself being quite giving without wanting anything in return, I'm just saying that must have opened up doors for you as well.
It really has, and I'm now very grateful to call a lot of the cast members close friends of mine now. I like being surrounded by people who, while very, very ambitious, they're also very positive and just want to help people around them succeed. So yeah, it's been I think it's been about 2.5 years I've been involved in this project for, and have a lot of exciting things on the horizon as a result of this.
You know, you use the words self-help, and I like those words. Also, you know, you type in law of attraction onto YouTube. You know, there's so many people, you know, making those kind of videos. What's the difference between Think and Grow Rich, do you think, and law of attraction?
Well, they're very very close, but I think the people who look at when you see on Facebook that everyone talks about, let me sell you the secret, like pay $5,000 to do my course or get some programming and I will tell you the secret to success. And I tell you what, the people that you interview who have truly made it are the first to tell you that they are not extraordinary and there is no secret. It is the consistent application of a proven set of success principles. That's all it is. You just do the fundamentals consistently. And like the law of attraction, where Bob Proctor, who was kind enough to write the foreword for the book and is in the film as well, he talks about that he actually doesn't believe things at the start, but he believes that the more you read something, the more that's when you start to believe it. It's having the commitment to be able to read something consistently and having that auto suggestion to be able to have these goals set out loud frequently. This is the type of thing with the law of attraction and the fundamental principles from Napoleon Hill's achievement philosophy that leads to success over time. But the things that I get a little bit uncomfortable with, the people in the whole self-help, I don't really like to factor them in with some of the good people in that industry, but the ones who are just trying to upsell people from program to program to program, where the cost just gets bigger and bigger without actually offering any value to help people. I'm very big on making sure people try a lot of things and find out what works for them. And if you try something and you've gotten the value out of it, that is amazing. And no one can tell you that that's not right for you. But I just want to let people know at the same time that going down the road and buying a $20 book, that can sometimes be just as powerful on the condition that you're able to take immediate and consistent action off the back of it.
Yes, and you mentioned something there as well. Consistent application. I can't remember the words you used. Consistent application of
a proven set of success principles.
A proven set of success principles. What is that?
The whole achievement philosophy. So it starts off with the very first principle of Think and Grow Rich is desire. So Napoleon Hill says the starting point of all achievement is desire. So if you don't want something, then how can you expect to get it? It's like opening the Maps app on your phone and imagine trying to find your destination without actually plugging it in. It's a bit like charting the course and having a very clear map to get you there. So the set of success principles, the whole thing comes from that this is what has worked for people for thousands of years. All we need to do is model people who have been successful. It worked for Andrew Carnegie just as well as it worked for Barbara Corcoran to rise to the top of the New York property scene. So what they did was they used principles like the mastermind, And they use, Barbara Corcoran says in the film that the moment she realized after reading Think and Grow Rich that she could build an empire on someone else's know-how, that she didn't need to have all the answers herself, that was a real light bulb moment for her. So she was able to harness the mastermind principle to get her there, having the persistence to see it through. There are so many things like that. So the proven set of success principles, if you open up the very first page of the book, you'll be able to see in the contents all of the principles are mapped out, and these are the ones that are this is the proven set of success principles that, if consistently applied, and that means that you do not rest, because a very important part of Think and Grow Rich, and something that I talk about in my speeches today, is that if you do not make the decision to win, you have automatically made the decision to lose. And it's important to do that every day. And Napoleon Hill said it as poverty consciousness will automatically overtake any mind that is not preoccupied with being success conscious. So each day, make the decision to win, or you have automatically made the decision to lose.
So in the book, I'm just counting them here. There's about 12 set of success principles. Would that ring true? About 12?
Yeah, 13.
13.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay, there's 13. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And these 13, these were from Napoleon Hill's book, or these were?
These are the exact same 13 success principles from Think and Grow Rich. So this is what Hill coined as the achievement philosophy. It was the 13 principles of success from Think and Grow Rich, the original.
Basically, the way that this book, Think and Grow Rich, the original book with Napoleon Hill, was put together is he actually went out and interviewed those who had seemingly, had made a success of what they were doing.
Yeah, so he was a young reporter from Wise County in Virginia, and happened to interview Andrew Carnegie, one of the most successful people who ever lived. And Andrew Carnegie basically put this mission to him on the condition that Hill would dedicate, however, basically his entire life to it. And Andrew Carnegie was the one who opened up all the doors for Napoleon Hill to interview all these extraordinary people. And it was on that project that was what ended up being released in 1937. And Napoleon Hill has a lot of other books like The Laws of Success and many other books as well. But Think and Grow Rich is the one that is most well known, and certainly the best selling in the self-help genre.
Yes, absolutely. And how many people altogether did you get to interview for this book and for the movie?
For this book, I think in the film we've got about 50 people. In the book, there's about 25 stories from memory from people who were interviewed. But for my work on other projects, I've interviewed more than 100 of the world's most successful people, just to really unlock their secrets to success. And what I wanted to do was unlock these success habits of high performers, to be able to present that to mainly the younger generation, so they can figure out how to come up with a blueprint to achieve success in their own lives as they define it. So yeah, I was able to use that knowledge, and I had a bit of an idea that would guide me along too.
So this was crowdfunded, this movie?
It was crowdfunded in a little bit. They raised, I think it was $500,000 on Indiegogo, which was the largest crowdfund of its type in history for a film, for a project of this nature. So it just blew up. I guess the only real challenging aspect, sorry, that's probably incorrect. There are many challenging aspects of this project, but a big one is just being able to reach Think and Grow Rich fans, because as soon as people are familiar with Think and Grow Rich and Napoleon Hill and the Napoleon Hill Foundation, they just love this. They know that he is the real deal, and they want to just support everything that's being involved. So yeah, it had a huge crowdfunding campaign, and there's also a big list of private investors too.
How did you fit 50 people into this? How long is the movie?
The movie's just shy of 2 hours from memory, but there were actually, because more and more people kept getting added, and big profiles. It's hard to figure out that, say if this amazing person comes on, where can we fit them in? What it is at the very end, during the ending credits, that is where a lot of bonus footage comes out, just additional footage of people who were able to do it just by virtue of the film. It's only got a certain amount of run time where you can only fit in so much content. So a lot of the other interviews are included during the ending credits, and also as the bonus footage available at the website with the film now, so people can go and check it out.
So would you say that all those people, you mentioned the word about 100 people that you've interviewed, so far, for this and other projects that you had. What are you doing with all those interviews? I mean, obviously, only a tiny bit's ending up on the movie. When are you ever going to release the full versions?
I have actually really. My very first book was called The Beginner's Guide to Wealth. An example of someone I interviewed from that was a guy called Dan Negreanu, who's renowned as one of the greatest poker players, if not the greatest poker player of all time. So he has that amazing mental strength and fortitude. He's very big on having a vision board and changing his life. And he sets his goal and outcome every single time, and he sits down at the table. So he was very, very interesting and someone that I was able to include in my first book. I've got various other interviews that have been posted for a Facebook page and a website that I'm involved with called BossFit, BossFit. It's got about 170,000 fans on Facebook. So yeah, have been able to publish a lot of content along the way, and I've also got a lot of content kept over, which I'll be using as inspiration for a lot of blog posts. So I want to start having a weekly blog post come out via my new website.
Good. And in all these people that you've interviewed, do they still stick, would you say, with the main 13 principles of Think and Grow Rich, even though they may not know that those principles are with Think and Grow Rich, that they still are, aligning with them?
Yeah, definitely. And in the book, I reference Elon Musk. He is, to me, the absolute modern personification of the whole achievement philosophy. If you read this book and you keep that in mind with Elon Musk, you'll be absolutely blown away. Like the whole idea of specialized knowledge and having the faith to see it through and persistence at a time when any reasonable person would quit, and the mastermind group to surround himself with winners. Like he doesn't need to build the Tesla or the rocket for SpaceX, just like Steve Jobs didn't need to build the iPhone himself. They surround themselves with people who can fulfill their dreams. So
But obviously
basically
they've
the
got the
idea,
money behind them to do that, though.
but not from the very start as well. There are a lot of these people who have come from absolutely nothing, and not only come from nothing financially, but have some immense physical trauma or medical diagnosis that should really stop them from doing that. But in many cases, that is also what spurs them on to greater success as well. Sometimes having that perceived handicap or adversity or misfortune can actually be the best thing that happened for them, on the condition that they can find a practical way to convert it.
Yeah, and I suppose it's difficult to say, if there's 13 principles of how to make this happen, are you always having to think, well, am I in this principle? Am I in that principle? Am I applying that to this? How do you memorize 13 principles throughout your daily life then? I mean, or is that just stupid to say that? That's not how it works.
No, it's fine. Well, the very first principle is desire. So clearly from that, you just need to say, what is it that I want out of the different areas of my life? It might be a happy marriage. It might be a promotion. It might be to start your own business. Whatever that might be, to start a podcast, whatever that goal for you is, make sure you get very, very clear on what you want. Then you have the faith to see it through to the end. There's auto-suggestion, which in the original Think and Grow Rich very clearly maps out what you can be doing to make sure that you train your mind to have that as a habit and believe it. So you just need to, what I think is a great way to do is read the book, read the original Think and Grow Rich, or even read Think and Grow Rich, The Legacy. Just read it through, get a feel for how it all fits in, and your brain will start ticking over time as you do. And then once you sit there with a notepad after, like there's so many people that I've interviewed who have just grabbed the notepad and they just keep jotting things down. And there's one guy, Errol Abramson, in the book, who was an orphan, dyslexic, and he had a crazy story. He was living in Southern California. He read Think and Grow Rich, and something like 3 years later, he was a millionaire. There are some of these extraordinary stories from people who just sat there with a notepad as they read. They just need to find the way that the book can help in their lives. No one is telling them, dictating what to do. It's like, these are the 13 principles of success that the most successful people who ever lived have done. Work for them, and it will work for you. Do as best you can, and that's just the greatest probability of success, is by following that process.
Yes. It's funny. I've got I just ordered Oprah Winfrey's biography. It was an old biography. I've actually arrived today, the day after your book arrived, and because I'm someone that wants to break into a much larger audience than I've got right now, and I don't want to. When something's not working or it's not moving forward the way you want it to, it's so small, it's slow, it's not providing for you. When you're in that situation, it can be very daunting sometimes to try to do something else to sustain you that takes you away from what you want to do, because that which you want to really do is not working out. But what would you have to say to that?
That's a position that I've been in that position as well. That's the principle of organized planning. You just need to figure out that your plans, if they're not working, that is an issue with your plans. That's all it is. It's not some cataclysmic event that's going to destroy your life. Take a deep breath, figure out where in your plans they've gone wrong. Find people who have had success in the field. Like who do you know is where you want to be? Go and talk to them, get support from them for your plans. This whole idea of organized planning is not that you come up with something and put it in a drawer, never to be seen from again. You sit there and you recalibrate plans as much as needed, always keeping that end goal. That is the one thing, your definite purpose, your chief aim, that is the one thing that shouldn't change. Although the organized plans that you put into place and the people around you who make it happen, they're the things that need to change to get to where you want to be. There's always a reason as to why something hasn't taken off, and you just need to figure out how. But I would start by finding people who have the success that you want, ask them to help you recalibrate your plans, and then bite off more than you can chew and chew like hell to make it happen.
Yeah. I mean, I got that book because I just wanted to find out how the hell she broke into TV at the time, because that's something I want to do. But then you think to yourself, nowadays, you can make it so big on YouTube, but we're not all here to, be the same as everyone else. Everyone's on a unique path, aren't we? We can't just go and mimic someone else. We've got to bring in something unique for what we do, and maybe that's, there's so many things I could what I'm saying right now could go into. I mean, I could say, well, how do we know what our purpose is? I suppose that's what you love to do, isn't it? Really, can purpose be a full-time job, or do you need something else to keep you going while you're living your purpose? There's all these threads that we could talk about, but
there's so much to it, and the people who are very successful as well, who are mentioned in the book, people like Lewis Howes from the School of Greatness podcast, he recognized, because he came from an athlete background, that having a coach was a huge thing for him. So the way I like to think about it is like a character in a video game, how you've got different stats in each area. And he realized that a big thing for him was public speaking. So he went out to Toastmasters every single week for a whole year. And that was his biggest fear. And he transmuted that into his greatest strength and also an income stream for him as well. And he probably gets paid 60, 70 grand a speech now. So yeah, it's about thinking what areas, what is your skill gap, and increasingly become a person of value. That's another really, really important part.
Well, that's important. Do you think we're here to be of service to others in what we do?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that is basically the only. I think first of all, we're here to be of service to ourselves. We really need to. The best way to help others. It's like on the safety demonstrations when you're on an airplane, how they say first fix your own mask and then you can look after the people near you. So I think you need to get your own house and your own life in order, and even leading by example will be a great way to help inspire other people. But there are just some people, like we spoke about earlier, who just love wanting to help other people, and as long as you're fortunate enough to be surrounded by people like that, then that's great. But there are so many people who I mentioned in the book. Satish Verma comes to mind. He's the president of the Think and Grow Rich Institute in Canada, and he said that if you're not here to make the world a better place, then what are you on the world for?
Yeah, and I think helping others is really helping ourselves. Where does the subconscious part come into this as well? Because obviously, it seems to be like from Napoleon's book that, we create our reality. It's that powerful. We are that powerful that, we create reality.
Yeah, so the big thing about thoughts is your whole life will depend on the thoughts that you allow to enter your mind and what you do with them. So the thoughts that you act on and come into your subconscious, you really want to train your brain for it to be to turn into a habit. So yeah, we all have these negative thoughts, but maybe you need to change something in your environment. If your goal is to lose 20 kilos, there's no point having liters and liters of Coca-Cola sitting in your fridge. If your goal is to be a positive person, there's no point hanging around losers who whine and complain all day. If your goal is to reach this career trajectory, there's no point listening to depressing music the whole time. You really need to be reminded all around you, and that is the way that you enable the thoughts that enter your brain. That is how you filter them into your subconscious. Also, things like auto-suggestion, like what are you saying out loud to yourself about your goals and how you're going to get there. So it really is, the whole idea of Think and Grow Rich is basically if you change your thoughts, you change your life. And
So,
I do hear a lot. I do hear so many people say that you can't change your thoughts. We have a very fundamental disagreement on that. I respect people's opinion, but I have spoken to too many people and experienced it firsthand that I completely disagree.
well, my truth is, it doesn't have to be anyone else's, but my truth is that we are consciousness having a human experience. So that's the only part I know. What that is, what that means, I don't know. It's just that we are not our body. We are something in that. This is our spacesuit basically that we come here to have this experience with. And if we are consciousness, then yeah, we know. I mean, it makes sense that we can create our reality. That maybe, this is just a blip in the existence of the thing that we truly are, which has always been and always will be. And
Definitely. And
yeah.
I think the very first story in the book Think and Grow Rich: The Legacy is of Janine Shepherd. When you read that, you'll be absolutely blown away because she travels around the world as a speaker now, and her whole message is that you are not your body. You are the defiant human spirit. And when you think a little bit about her background for people who don't know, she had a video on Goldcast recently on Facebook. It's got, I think, about 140 million views. Her TED Talk has been viewed about 2 million times. She was an athlete who had qualified for the Winter Olympics in Calgary in 1988. She was tipped to win a gold medal. And when she was on a bike training ride outside the Blue Mountains in Sydney, she was hit by a truck. In her early 20s, that was her entire life thrown upside down, lost almost every ounce of blood she had on her body. It was an absolute miracle that she was even able to survive. And I won't ruin the whole story for everyone else, but yeah, that message of hers that you are not your body, you are the defiant human spirit. It's something that I really, really love, and it goes right back to what you mentioned before.
So just so we got the idea of the movie in our head as well. So this is stitching together the principles that are in the book. So it's stories that stitch together the principles of Think and Grow Rich.
Yes, that's correct. So in the book, the movie's a bit different. It's not as linear as what it features in the book. So the film will, it's more of an entertaining, arousing the emotion type experience. So where people will have their different segments. So for Janine's segment, it certainly shows all of that. But in the book, I attribute hers to desire, because the very thing that she did on her recovery was she got clear on what she wanted. She had that desire to make change in her life. It's very, very specific about what she wanted. And that was just something that, I felt like it should come together for her.
And in the interviews that you do, let's just go over the interviews just very, very quickly. So what are, when people fail at something, what are, a couple of things that are key to why people fail as well? And also, is failure, actually, and there's nothing wrong with failure, is there? It's the only way we get to know ourselves, what works.
Yeah, so there's a big difference between temporary failure and permanent defeat. And in the book, it says that temporary failure only becomes permanent defeat once you accept it as permanent defeat. So if you have something that in the whole scheme of things is actually fairly small, and you enable that to bury you and you go through the rest of your life with the chip on your shoulder, that is permanent defeat. Nothing can help you until you're willing to help yourself. But I think the number one reason people fail is because they do not get clear on what they want. I think that would really cover people in about 95% of cases. And then the next step would be surrounding yourself with people who can make it happen. So you don't want to play the victim card. You see so many people who when you see posts, fortunately not as much, maybe I've got new friends, but on Facebook, when people put up a very much of a poor me post about how the world has done them wrong, or something's happened, or how bad was the traffic, worst day ever, or the whole FML thing and all this crazy stuff. But all you're really doing is putting, you're focusing on things outside of your control. When if you actually say that everything that happens to you is your fault, you're accountable for it, that means you then have the power. You are actually empowering yourself to change it and be able, if you can't change a situation, change your thoughts about a situation.
Yeah. So then I'm thinking that from these interviews, even just for the book as well, not all the interviews that you've done before, you must be a bit of a different person now since doing this.
Yeah, definitely. There are so many things that I've learned, depending on each person. So interviewing Lewis Howes and Grant Cardone, a big thing that changed for me there was investing in your personal brand. They invest massively in their personal brand. Bob Proctor taught me the importance of reading something not just for fun. You really need to study something and read it repeatedly so you can bring life experiences to it. Rob Dyrdek, a professional skateboarder turned business mogul who now has a penthouse office in Beverly Hills with 360-degree views of the city, he taught me that you should only work on projects that give you energy. Why would you consistently focus on something that just frequently stresses you out and offers you not much by way of joy? There are all these different things. Like Dr. Dennis Kimbrough taught me that success will only come to you once you've paid the price and in full. There are no bargains at the counter of success. So many things like this. They're all very, very powerful, and my life is completely transformed. But the way that it has changed the most would be basically how I structure my day. So the very first thing that I would do, I'd wake up and do something called the 5-minute journal, where you write down 3 things that you're grateful for. Then you write down 3 things that would make today great. I think about what I've got on for the day and what energy that I want to bring to those situations. What do I want to get out of them? And then at the very end of the day, I would reflect on what made, how I could have improved. And it really does help train your brain to be grateful for everything that you've got in your life. And another important point there is John Lee Dumas from the podcast Entrepreneurs on Fire. He says the first thing that you should do in the morning, rather than once you've woken up and you're ready for the day, is to actually do work that's inching you closer to your 100-day goals. So don't check your email. Most people check their email off the bat and then they get bogged down and they can spend an entire day checking your emails. I've certainly been there. You've probably been there as well, Kevin. It's an easy trap to fall into. So if you're doing that, 365 days later, you've spent a whole year doing emails and you haven't really got much by way of creative output. But yeah, I've learned so much on this whole journey, and yeah, have just been so grateful to be involved.
What do you do for emails? Is it, do you just keep it short replies? Do is that all you do? Just
Yeah, sometimes mine can get a bit lengthy. Maybe it's because I'm a writer, but I type very, very quickly. I try to keep it very, very efficient. I'm not as I've seen people who are very, very concise with their emails. I'm not at that point yet. I try not to fluff around too much. But I just make sure I have the time to get the creative stuff done early. When you really tap into it, like when are you most productive in your day? For me, that's after I have a coffee in the morning. So that window between 8 a.m. and midday, I really try and make sure I've freed up to do my life's work rather than other people's work. And then in the afternoon and night, because I can work up until 10 or 11 o'clock or midnight some days, and I would try to do work 7 days a week. Emails are something that you can do on autopilot. You don't need creative brain power to be able to do that.
no, absolutely not. No, I just think sometimes that what we really want can seem so difficult to be able to monetize, or so difficult to understand how we could get it to a point where it's providing and everything else. It's not always so straightforward, is it? Sometimes the challenge can be high. It can be a high bar sometimes to overcome to get to where you want.
Definitely. It's funny, the juxtaposition now between barriers to entry for pretty much any industry, especially involving computers and the internet, are super low, but that just means there's also a flood of competition, and people are just trying to amplify and exponentially increase their own capabilities. It's something that I've struggled with. Like, how do you find 50 clones of yourself to be able to get to where you want to go? But I think the biggest part of that is being able to find your tribe, look at ways that you can add free and consistent value to them, and then start listening to them, listen to their pain points, figure out ways that you can offer a product that solves a problem for them. It feeds a need. What can you do to add value to that audience, people who will be happy to pay for it? John Lee Dumas did really well on that with what he calls the Mastery Journal on Amazon. He even crowdfunded that. It was hugely successful. I think they it brought in something like $300,000 or $400,000 in 3 weeks for a simple book that it has helped thousands of people around the world. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, my brain's gone a little bit blank right now, and I'm like, there's just loads of stuff I want to ask you, but I know we're almost out of time as well. So, well, I suppose what words of wisdom then have you got in this moment now that you think would be appropriate?
I think a big thing for people that what they need to do is figure out a way to win the day. If each day you make the decision to win, or you've automatically make the decision to lose. You don't need to focus on polishing a gold medal tomorrow. We're not really interested in bringing in these massive results. That will happen over time if you take the steps to win each day. That's it. Keep it simple but consistent.
And and winning to one person can mean something totally different to another.
Yeah, yeah, it really can. I'm a very big believer in making sure that the goals you create and the success that you need or that you desire in your life, it is very important that that is unique for you. There's no point in me sharing my goals sheet with someone else and then putting that up there on the wall. We all have to have goals that are unique to us and take the steps to make it happen. We've all been dealt a different hand, and we just need to make the most of it. So,
Absolutely. Okay, well, James, your website one more time is?
JamesWhitt.com, JamesWhitt.com, and people can also find me on Facebook as well. It's just James Whitt.
Excellent. Well, we've been putting your Facebook, well, actually, we'll put all your social media links in the description of this video as well, so that they're all there. And your website's been coming up, as well as the URL for the movie as well, the Think Rich movie. So look, just James, thank you so much for joining us today.
No worries at all, Kevin. And there's also a free bonus chapter of the book that doesn't actually appear in the book. That's available for free download from my website as well for people who want to go and check it out. But thanks for having me, Kevin. It's been great.
Thank you.